Hey, everybody. Just so you know too, Sean. He's part of the group. He's been around a long time. He's doing some really good things. Didn't introduce him in the podcast, but let's get started with the show. I'm busy packing.
Tell me why you started this. I've seen it a couple times.
Dude, I was originally I wanted to about customers. You get those angry customers, you know what I mean? I had a lady that tore down an entire case and just shattered the glass. And I was like, okay, cops are coming. The cops did nothing about it. It was like $3,000 in damages. There was devices shattered, all kinds of. She was like a 4'5" Hulk, just ripped it across the the front of the store. And I was like, we're just going to start a podcast and start about crazy customers. And it turned into this thing where we're like doing the news, the trending stuff. And then one day I was like, I wonder what they're like, the Facebook groups and everything. I was like, I'm wondering, like, what is this person like behind the Facebook page? And so we did an interview and I was like, hey, tell me about your real life. You know, what is it compared to what you put on social media? And it just kind of was like, I like interviewing people, seeing what the deal is. Because as you're aware, everyone's got a behind the scenes look, you know, like something is different than what you show the world.
No, I totally agree. I mean, especially in this space, you know, you have people that you're not, that you just know through CPR, the website, the forum, you know, on Facebook. There's people that you see, you know, repeat names that you might not have done business with. And you start to see some of them, like some of our friends that you see on there, and they keep getting called out, and it's just unique that they're still doing business. And, you know, it's like, seems like it's a reoccurring phase or a reoccurring thing, but there's definitely a lot of stories that are not relatable to just the everyday Joe. It's really when it comes down to people that do the industry and see, like, I totally believe a 4 or 11 girl would tear up the store.
Yeah.
Shit like happens. But hey, if you want to start, I'm down to.
Yeah, dude, I like the whiteboard, man. I'm actually looking for one of those for my my place. Yeah. I was like, oh shit, I was looking at one today.
Office is a disaster.
Oh no, you're good. Trust me, my place is all boxes right now. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, so you're relocating?
Yeah, taking the family to Oklahoma. Yeah, we live in Sacramento right now, but the whole place has got to move. The store will stay. I got people that'll run it, hopefully not into the ground. But from there, got to take the family. We got a 4,000 square foot place that's going to make it a little easier to do anything we want. And it's a fifth of the price compared to the square footage out here. I'm like, damn, there's a lot of opportunity.
And my friend's actually in OKC, and he tells me a lot that there's a lot of opportunity. And they like have like a certain pay rate laws and shit.
It's a lot cheaper, yeah.
Yeah, the cost of living is phenomenal.
Yeah, I can't hire anybody under $19 an hour here. Like, that's double will work.
Yeah, double-edged sword too.
Yeah. So we know each other through the groups. We don't do much. We've done some business in the past, but we're not, you know, in direct contact. And I see your stories, man. And first, my condolences. You got robbed recently.
Yeah.
Your bounce back on that is phenomenal. Like most people would take a week or a month to try and recoup. 72 hours, you're back in business?
Yeah, actually, I mean, really, we didn't close business on Friday. Originally, I had made a post about it because I hadn't known the damage. I got there at 8 a.m. I was burglarized at 11. And I mean, there's a couple of things that were my fault. Like, I forgot to set my alarm that night. I've been staying back late. Actually had to come back into the shop, unarmed it, and then left. So that's a little bit of a learning curve there. As far as just being conscientious of it. I've been in that location for many years now. Technically 4 years for this business, but prior I was a Verizon Wireless sales rep, and then I became an owner operator. So I basically had a store under my name. Paid all the bills. I got paid. I wasn't the master agent, so I just operated within the business. In 2017, that I later then moved. I left the business. They wanted to relocate me to New Jersey on a box of phone screens, just phone screens. And I said, you know, maybe I'll start doing repairs because I had some prior experience from another business, and that's honestly how I got into repair. Then I got into that location. because I was previously there with Verizon, and then I was previously there with T-Mobile. So this particular address has a sentimental value to me. But when you're in and out, sometimes you forget. So if I'm going to teach anyone, make sure you're on top of that, because it can be 365 days. You know, you can do that over 3 years, never get hit once.
And just the one time, yeah.
Yeah, so it definitely was unfortunate. We are very blessed. We had a tip, which led to a confession, which led to two other people confessing in another city where I'm actually originally from. But it's about a 40-minute drive. And that's where they were able to locate majority of my stuff. And Chris, I actually have that stuff. Like, I have about 80% of it already.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm in most cases very fortunate. Not a lot of people are going to recover this much in damages. I lost about 45,000 in inventory between PlayStation 5s, computers. I'm still missing my most expensive one, of course.
I saw your post, yeah.
Beautiful one, a custom white one.
It looked nice, yeah.
And then they destroyed our display cases, and they stole a lot of phones. But, you know, another tip for owners is, you know, just be on top of your inventory, you know, have everything serialized. You know, I'm in the store enough to know, like, most times where things are at. I did close that night. So at the same time, I definitely knew where things were at. But they definitely took a lot, Chris.
I was surprised. We've been hit 5 times in 9 years.
Wow.
We've been dropped by 3 carriers. It's been a problem. We used to call it, like, our yearly cleaning house was somebody coming in, prying the doors, cutting the gate. It was a whole thing. And then,
so you had a gate, like a exterior, like, goes in front of the building, or like an actual gated space?
So we have a drop-in gate on the inside of the building, right inside the door. And so the second burglary, we didn't have a gate. So we had one burglary. They tow hitched the back door, set the alarm off. Cops didn't show up. This was 2016 for almost 45 minutes, and they got to cut a hole in the door, pull it out. And they went in. They had 10 minutes to clear out a bunch of shit. But back then I had a table, a chair, and a heating mat. It wasn't a big business. And so I had serialized a bunch of donated computers that they stole and threw into the back of a van. And so I tell the story on the podcast, but I didn't have $5 or $6 grand in my name when I started this business. That insurance claim gave me $80,000 to start my business, because I didn't pay for the laptops, but they paid me retail replacements. They were all busted, donated laptops. We were taking in e-waste, and I was going to scrap them for gold. And so it turned into this, all right, now we got to buy inventory. Now we got to stock things. Let's buy nice shelves. Let's do advertising. And it was a catapult. But then it was 16, then we got hit in 17, 18, 19, and then 2021.
Do you feel that a repeat, like repeat people? Or was
no,
it just happen incidental?
We've had three people who have been caught, but nothing has been recovered out of those 3 people. And we've had serialized items that have shown up at pawn shops, but the cops don't recover it. It goes straight into evidence. And then we're given a tag in California of the monetary damages to put onto their case, which is really stupid. Because, like, a PS5 from 2021, we had a stack of 5 of them that got stolen. The next day, a pawn shop got hit with one. And I was like, I can't get it back. Back then it was, $950 for a PS5. And I had got all these on lotteries, polls online. It was a lot of money to make. And unfortunately, it wasn't as easy to recover.
Some insurance, doesn't want to pay out, So sometimes, like, even my insurance, to be honest, like, I was at a point where I kind of forgot. Like, I was just like, I knew I had it. And I knew I ordered it. I just didn't remember what company. Finally, a couple of days later, I found out. And, we do the insurance, but, there's a deductible. And then with now, it's like, hey, it's not the retail cost. Yeah. They want to give you what you paid for it.
Yeah.
So my loss was what I would have retailed it for. My true loss was less, So yeah, you're kind of in a situation where you got pretty fortunate on the first one around, you know?
That's 2016 before all the
Right.
like they do. I think it's minimum 25% depreciation now for our 2021, and then they take if something's over 6 months, they depreciate it by time, and then depreciate it by model. So if you got a PS4, even though it's 4 years old, release date, they'll say, all right, that's 4 years by 20% a year on whatever the current value was in that year. It took them 7 months to figure out a $20,000 loss with damages became like $7,000 on the payment. So it was super low compared to what it should have been, but also it's a shitty insurance company. We were on the fourth one.
Yeah.
So,
and unfortunately, I think that happens when you do get kind of like through these incidences, you know, they do have an option of like to drop you or to change your coverage. And that's kind of where I'm in a debate now, you know, depending on how I minimize my loss. You know, does it make sense to go through the insurance and file the insurance claim? And then, you know, I still have a deductible and or I just eat the loss.
yeah. So depending on what the monetary value is,
you know, and sometimes it could totally be more, but is it worth the nuances of it? I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess it's to each owner's discretion on what they want to do. But I would definitely recommend if anyone is in this situation, be very transparent. Don't try to throw this in there or try to throw that in there because sometimes
people do that. Yeah, I've had buddies that tried to tell me on the first one, and they're like, "Oh, let me help you. Let me help you. I've got serial numbers. I got IMEIs." I'm like, "You're going to get me in jail. It's going to be the dumbest thing." I advertise so often that I'm like, I'll never commit insurance fraud because I'm so blessed by the first one. It changed my life. I'm like, no. That paid for 10 years in insurance, whatever you want to pay, whatever you want to charge me. I'm not going to fuck around with it. I'll do the maximum you want me to cover myself or like install new gates, fix the door, do whatever. And then also the minimum. So if you want to rob me, it's there, but it's insured. So as long as I have coverage, I'm comfortable with it. Otherwise I got to sit a tank outside. But where do you come from? So you're originally from Lancaster?
From Reading, Pennsylvania. And that's not too far. It's maybe an hour northwest of Philadelphia. There's a highway that goes right to Philly. And I got into wireless I would say at a younger age, like in high school, but that was more of me being a consumer, right? Yeah. So I think let's get into it. You know, we have a Nokia, we have BlackBerry,
Sidekicks.
Sidekicks. And then when you use it, right, you know, and then you start to like it, you have your own problems, and you have to figure them out. And you know, it's the most important tool, right? So, like, I didn't grow up like, man, I love cell phones. I just happened to have one, you know, and you know, then you want to get the best model, just like at least for me, that was an appeal. Like in Kias, they had Sony Xperia, or Sony Ericsson Xperia, which were really nice phones. And then I had the very first Android. It was the HTC G1.
G1. Oh.
Yeah, I worked for T-Mobile at the time. So I got into wireless because, like I said, in high school, but I had friends that worked for Sprint. And these are older guys, like mid-20s, like early 30s, and I'm like 16, 17-year-old kid. At the time, I liked to wear dress shirts, and I liked house music. And these guys were like, you know, like this is like before Jersey Shore. Like some of these guys were like guidoed out.
Oh my God.
You know, and they had money and they were selling cell phones. And, you know, back then you made good money selling cell phones. Like Sprint, the activations used to pay out very well. This was right after where you could sell multi-carrier. So I didn't do that. But I hear those days were pretty darn good. Hey, you didn't get approved for this? Let me run your credit for AT&T real quick.
Yeah.
You know, let's try Sprint. So, you know, those were kind of like the new introduction to like communicating, but on the go, right? And even in the late 80s, they were very expensive, the bag phones in early 90s. So then after high school, hanging out with these guys, I was like, man, this is a good way to make money. Like they dress well, they like to go clubs, and that's like everything I was into. And
This is the life. Yeah.
I got into it, and I crushed it. I got into T-Mobile. I worked at a freaking kiosk, and like I crushed it in sales. And there's actually a guy that was the leader at the time, and he's down in Georgia now, and he's a stud salesman. Um, and we still catch up. And we're talking 2007, 2008. I got into wireless, and that would be right out of high school. So this guy, he's down in Georgia now. He's doing well for himself. He got out of Verizon Wireless. They kind of did him dirty. But he's happier. He's in a much better headspace. And this guy's like, respectfully, much older than I am. He's probably like 30 something by the time I'm 18. Yeah. And so I reach out to him, and I'm cheering him on. I say, hey, brother, like many people might not know that you're a killer salesman. No one might not know that you know how to make a lot of sales and you're good at what you do. And, to hear that from someone, he appreciated that. But also, it's kind of like anyone's career. You go through different levels of your career. Sometimes, like you said, you just start off the heat pad and whatnot. And we all do. Like we all do. So it's kind of nice to know that. Well, I shouldn't say we all do, but it is nice to know that there are people that go through the same problems, right? And then it is nice to hear someone say, hey, man, you're doing a good job. Or I recognize, this. And for him, like he was blown away by it because he doesn't hear anyone say it. But that's the type of thoughtfulness that I am as a person and why I like this industry. Because like I started with wireless, T-Mobile, then in Lebanon, Pennsylvania. I'm sorry, I can ramble.
No, you're good.
Lebanon, Pennsylvania. There's like this warehouse. I'll be honest, and for some reason, the AT&T iPhone, it was like the 3GS and the 4 series. They were AT&T exclusive, but somehow there are people bringing me them to my T-Mobile's kiosk, right down the spot from the AT&T corporate store. And they're like, hey, Chino is like a way of saying like a Chinese or Asian person in Spanish.
Yeah.
And they would be like, hey, like, yo, can you unlock this? And at the time, I could unlock a BlackBerry because you would type in the IMEI, it would generate a code. Yeah. You type foreign SIM, the foreign SIM would then populate a code. But then there's the introduction of jailbreaking. In jailbreaking, you could jailbreak the phone with software, and then the software, you would download a handful of applications, you would change the settings, and then all of a sudden, this AT&T only exclusive iPhone can be used across T-Mobile or, there's no other carrier then. It's Singular, T-Mobile, and maybe whatever.
Helios, yeah, God.
Yeah, whatever GSM prepaid you could go with, right? But that was crazy because, that's when I started making side money. And then I was getting T-Mobile activations, new lines of service. So not only I was double dipping, not only was I making sales for activations and they were new lines of service, I was also like unlocking phones and then Blackberries. And then sometimes Blackberries would break because they had like the curve, and then they have the palm or the pearl.
Yeah, the pearl.
And the center ball. That thing's just a piece of plastic that just sits over and just a ball, like a mouse,
My wife still loves that damn mouse that has the ball in the center. I cannot get her to upgrade, but anytime she's doing any of her paperwork, it's just, I'm like, why do you use this thing?
With what?
That giant red ball that's in the mouse, that's a mouse that's stationary, but it's got like an ergonomic giant marble.
Oh, yeah. That's on top. Right.
Yeah. I can't get her to not use that. My son goes and steals it. I'm like, just hide it. And then of course she finds it. Like it's her one computer thing that she'll never upgrade. No, dude, it sounds like you've definitely got a background that most people would envy. Like your history is a lot from the wireless side to the repair side. And anyone who's seen your page knows that you're doing a lot. Like, so you got over 2,000 5-star reviews on your Lancaster store, your CPR Lancaster.
That's generous. we're not there yet, but we're getting there. We're at 1,854, 55, like 140 some away, bro.
That's crazy.
Getting there. So like technically on our our website with our CPR corporate website, it combined is 2,500, I think. 2,500, 2,654, 4.87.
That's nuts. To anyone watching, that is a precedent that most people are not going to hit. Like, I know I won't hit. I don't got the customer service skills for that. I'm more small business. I can tell people, fire a customer. It's totally fine. It's not going to kill me. You're setting like Apple quality standards for the repair industry out there. You got 5 stars. If somebody comes with a 1 star, you're going to make that customer happy and then change that. It looks like you go out of your way.
Yeah. I definitely do. The biggest thing I would tell like a store owner, anyone, a good principle to live by is say, hey, I'm a customer too. So
I like that.
When I go shop or when I go buy things, I'm a customer. I go to get my car worked on. I'm a customer. I go get food. I'm a customer. So there is a certain expectation that I expect. So being that it's the business, I control that. Like I control the output, right? So
yeah.
if the customer is getting a phone repaired, they're not seeing the parts. Sometimes you just hear a price. And honestly, a lot of times customers just say, hey, what's the price of this repair? So with us, we are Apple IRP, so we do genuine Apple repairs. And then we offer aftermarket, which is very fine, especially with Apple. There's a huge market for that. And then we do offer even a third tier, which is LCD. So a customer wants to trade it in. Or honestly, at first, I didn't like that idea. But there are customers that they want to use it. They don't need it to be like quality.
Yeah.
Some people don't care. And that's something that we actually had to make a lot of effort at, not necessarily saying that LCD is bad. It's just, hey, this is another option that is an economic option that some people are very comfortable paying as long as you're transparent. On top of that other saying that I'm a customer, another saying that I'd say is that I don't want to see you again.
Yeah.
And we do it in a very humorous way. Like, hey, we don't want to see you again for the same repair.
That's exactly. We do the same thing.
One time, like, why should you have to come back?
Exactly.
Because really, you don't need to. And I am kind of surprised sometimes when I see some of these shops that they're focused on the profit margin, which is I understand that, but profit margin is only so good if you're not being transparent. All right. And you don't have to be like this. This is just the way I prefer to run the business. And I think that that's the right way to do it because, at the same time, you are the pro. You do know. So you should probably explain.
Yeah.
Hey, why is this screen repair this price?
Yeah. We at our stores tend to say, if you're not giving them the most information up front, that if they can come back in the back end and say, well, I didn't know that, then you're failing. So every expectation has to be given up front so that you can't fail in the middle, the end, anything. You should be able to sell them whatever you want that they're here for, as long as the expectation is given up front. Here it is transparently. It's our big thing. And people love it. Some people don't like to be told that something's not of value. It gets a whole headache sometimes, but the humor way definitely works. Where did you get exactly. Where did you get your confidence for sales? Is that just from the wireless industry or?
Yeah, I mean, I would say definitely wireless. I mean, I've had a ton of reps. Like I used to work at a Verizon. We had like a 6,400 square foot Verizon store, and it was in a town that was just like a very it's farmland, like not a city. And we used to crush it out of that store. I worked 70 hours a week, no problem. I lived in the woods, like it was very peaceful. one of the guys that I actually used to hang out with back in high school, he was like 28 at the time, so he's like well older than I am. He was in wireless and got me back into Verizon. And he was one of the guys that, I'm really big into house music and he's big into house music. So like we actually worked together and we would crush it. I mean, we were working 70 hours a week. Didn't feel like that. Like we were making great sales. We were selling accessory bundles, which we were crushing. And in business, you have to make multiple streams. It's just too hard to survive off of one, and sometimes you only get that out of one. Sometimes you don't ever see it for a while. But I think accessories is something that I would, mention that it's very important that you guys offer it. You have customers that come into your door. You want to get the screen protector after the repair. We do give customers discounts, $10 off when they get a screen protector, and a $15 warranty. And they're very good with that. They say, hey, that has unlimited screen protector warranty, so replace it. Because we want the screen phone to be good. And at the same time, if you have a good phone, I want to buy it later. So take care of it. So we just try to give them in some terms, they call it like a sticky reason for them to come back. Like Verizon's more sticky because every 2 years, or if they have a family plan, someone might upgrade, right?
Yeah.
But with repair, you're not guaranteeing that they're going to break their phone again. In essence, you kind of hope they don't, right? But sometimes they do, and then sometimes there's people that hurt, like they're offenders, like that. That's all. That's a part of their DNA. They have to break their phone like every couple months, and they're cool with it, So then you see familiar faces, and I think that with wireless, there are people that don't really understand the magnitude of what they do. Like, yeah, you're fixing a screen. Does not seem like anything. Because it really isn't.
No, yeah. Once you're into it, it's really not.
However, the impact that you do make is that sometimes, we get people come in and they're stressed out because they lost their data, because their phone got run over, or they think that they can't get their information, their child's newborn photos and stuff like that. That stuff it happens.
It's heartwarming when you can recover that for a customer. It makes you feel good.
And sometimes it's not a lot. So that really was probably my biggest thing that I appreciated with wireless, is that, selling people cell phone plans gets very boring at first. It's not fulfilling. And it pays only X amount. Exactly. So when you repair, now you get paid to solve the problem. Customers are very comfortable paying it. I argue with some people in CPR about certain things, and I'm monetizing certain things that they're not. And I don't like there's a service you offer. And if you do right by people, they understand business and need to make money. So sometimes they will buy that screen protector from you. Sometimes they'll buy that case from you. So I don't want to get too away from it. The accessories are very important because you have that customer. Not only do you do the repair, but you want to give them an opportunity to prevent that from happening again.
And it's a feel good moment either way.
Right. And then you make some money. And I'll tell customers, like, look, we're going to sell you, if they make like, I can go on Amazon and buy it. Of course you can. Yeah. I can go to Alibaba and just buy it and then wait for it.
Exactly.
But there's the cost of now. And, by the time you order it, are you going to make sure you're not going to drop your phone by that time? And it's not one of those, like, you scare your customer. You educate them. Hey, like, by all means, I understand. We're going to save a couple bucks. Like, we sell accessories here. Well, we do make a couple dollars off of them. But, once you leave the store, like, you are the beneficiary. Like, you drop your phone. I'm not going to be like, I'm so glad I bought this case, or I'm so glad I sold you this case. You're going to be more happy that, hey, I'm glad that I did buy this case or a screen protector.
And most of your customers know of your philanthropy local, right? Like,
yeah,
I'm gonna bring that up because I've seen your posts. You do backpacks for kids. You do give away quite a bit of money. Tell me a little bit. What drives you to do that?
I mean, that was not a me thing originally. That started off with Verizon Wireless TCC, and they did a culture of good. So George Rogers, I think some of you guys are familiar with him.
Yeah.
He actually is currently with Ryan McCarty, which I don't know type their relationship. I just know that they probably have a podcast together. But I know Ryan from Verizon Wireless, and the at the time it was called the Cellular Connection, and we were dealer of the year, private dealer, 3 years in a row for Verizon TCC, and we just had a phenomenal staff. We're all over Central Pennsylvania. Now the guy has stores in New Jersey. I was going to move to New Jersey, decided that I don't want to be in New Jersey, and moved back home to Pennsylvania, where then I found the box, and then I did the screens, and and I'll tell you guys that story. But essentially, it came from there. It was culture of good. It's an opportunity to give back. Shout out to those guys. It's called the Round Room now. But they, Scott Moorhead, Julie Moorhead, they were very focused on giving back. They developed the culture of good with Ryan, and that was just kind of like a way to, spread positivity. All while they did the backpack giveaway, which is like the first August, second August. They normally do it on Sundays now, and I think I did like 3 of those with Verizon. Before that, I left and I just started doing them on my own, or I did them together with a friend at a car show. He has a car show called Tune Evolution, where I toured the U.S. and we had these beautiful, European, domestic, foreign cars that are like, ungodly amount of money into, and you make a lot of great relationships that way.
It seems like you got a lot of like stake in cars, memorabilia for one. You got a lot of cards, cars, Jordan stuff. What is this, just a Pennsylvania like hobbyist type thing, or are you doing another business on the side of that?
No, I'm just a hoarder, and I actually none of it. I value none of it, and that's like the honest truth. So I'm in a point now where I'm just kind of like, the cards were more of like being involved with people on the internet, in groups, breaks. So, and I only got into it really recently, but I like sports, so I understand why people like the cards to the players. And then I felt like I was getting something back, something tangible. And then I was learning about it, and I definitely have spent a lot of money doing it the wrong way. But I think I'm in the positive, especially with a lot of the cards that I have hit. It's thrilling, but it can.
I lost a lot in Pokemon. I know.
Kind of like you're having fun, and as long as you're within tolerance of what you're willing to spend and what you're willing to try to make, and sometimes we just go a little bit too deep, and like I just feel like I have a lot of cleaning up to do. So if I could teach someone something, those are like the hits of dopamine, and it's like, hey, look, I reward myself, but it really doesn't. I think that's the value. Like that's a lot of this stuff in the back behind me is all like, I'm gonna cover it because it's all just cards. It's like a mess. It's just a terrible mess. But I definitely enjoy football and basketball. So that's why you get into the players and you want to see their ascension, and the athletes are just so much better.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So when you're not, I got to say, you were way more positive of a person than I thought you were going to be over alive. Because I've seen you talk and I've seen your posts, but it seems like you got so much shit going on that in the off time you would be just exhausted. So where does that drive come from? Where's your family from?
So most of my family is, I guess you could say like some of it's in Reading, Pennsylvania, and that's just like my cousin on my mom's side. That would be like originally where I'm from like the central Pennsylvania area. But I have family in Houston, Texas. I have family in like the Orange County, California area, and then like the Manassas, Virginia area. Primarily, that's like where most of my family is at.
Are your parents business owners at all? Did they give you any?
Yeah. So that's a great question. So my mom is used to be a nail salon owner for many years, and she had a big nail salon, and like she did that. My mom's like very hardworking. A lot of people say, "Hey, my parent is hardworking." To be honest, I think most of our parents are. And our goal is like to not live like them. That's their goal too. They don't want you to live like them. Unfortunately, that's just like my DNA, and so a lot of it is a lot of effort towards unfortunately building takes effort and it needs consistency and it takes sacrifice. And so like um, when you see that happening, it just more or less is just like a second nature. So like even holidays, like we're not big on celebrating holidays. We just work, like whenever there's a day off, it's just kind of like, all right, what can we do to like settle down? And I don't agree with that either. I mean, I'm not saying that's like a good life to live. But also it's a double-edged sword. How do you see what you're capable of doing? I mean, some people don't need that. Gary Vee says it like he has friends that make millions of dollars a year and they're miserable.
Yeah.
I think it's the honest truth for a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of human beings, period. Less is more. Um, and then he said that he has friends that don't make that great of money. They go home, they go drive in their, okay car that's maybe not gonna take a lot of Instagram pictures and people are gonna like look at, but it's all about utility in life, really. Like, what are you gonna really get out of what you want? Some people have to have luxury, and I do have a lot of nice things that I just don't even care about. I
That's,
don't
I'm
like.
personally downsizing. That's the whole point of going to Oklahoma. I drive the Tesla. I make a decent living. I wouldn't call myself, what is it, billionaire, worthy, rich, but I'm wealthy in many ways. I don't
Sure.
do the whole like watch this, that. It's different to some entrepreneurs, but I've got the foundation built that I want to start going with the stepstone. Then you go with the mortar, so on and so forth. Then you got the walls. I'm right there, man, and I get that. Just starting from the bottom, and I just don't want to have all this flashy shit just thrown at me.
Yeah, and it doesn't result in production. So like it's like having a truck, right? A truck is nice, it's big, it's obviously a truck,
Yeah.
but performance it's not great. And then how often are you going to be carrying a load? What's the insurance like? So it's all really relative to like what you want, how much you're willing to sacrifice or how much you're willing to push it. So for me, unfortunately, like if I'm not pushing it, it's not like it's like, uh, business is cyclical and, depression and joy and success, it's all relative because it goes in circles, it goes up and down and up and down. And at some point, you're going to see something that you already went through before. Hopefully, you can identify it, overcome it, avoid it, maybe make it, even more worthwhile. Say, hey, like this is actually the right way, and then see its true benefit. But if you're not willing to understand life happens, things happen. Like, yeah, I don't want it to happen.
Just take it on the chin best you can and keep moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. And at the same time, like, when that robbery did happen, I told my guys, I said, hey, like, I'm not phased by it. I'm walking through the store, I see the disaster. But it happens. It's literally a part of being in a retail business. Theft happens. And it happens in different forms. It happens in armed robbery, it happens in employees, it happens in break-ins. So with that situation, like I just didn't arm it. If I arm it, I minimize the loss, right? But we have a great community. We do right by people, and people like put the word out. They saw it. They wanted to talk about it, and we even had some negativity. Like, ironically, there's someone like it's just like okay. It's like it's kind of like I wasn't involved. Like my store, along with my neighbors, weren't involved in like a riot, where shit was getting burnt down. You know what I mean? Like this was intentional. This was to grab inventories, grab money. But it wasn't like I got my business destroyed for no reason. One, and then looted, and then my neighbors have to rebuild as well. So it could always be worse, you know, and so many people have different scenarios in which I would hate to be in their shoes, you know, totally. So I'm
It's a
not happy.
horrible feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just a matter of like, that happens. And then there's other people that go through different type of losses, and whether it's employee loss. And I think a lot of stores go through turnover, and
Well, it's a part of business. Yeah.
Yeah.
With your business plan right now, where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Well, I would say we are finding an identity, you know, because when I started, it was just like literally this big space where I just made two like jerry rig counters and some like Amazon like black like metal frame where you can like hang accessories. It was like terrible. It's so bad. And then I remember driving to like 4 hours away to New Jersey, and we like tore down an AT&T store, and then they had this gigantic like we filled a 26-foot truck to the brim with everything in that store, including the safe that they didn't have the keys to. And then they couldn't get into it, and then we had to pry it from the ground with like the largest like crowbar. It was just terrible.
Their safety bolts, yeah.
All the way, and it was like really quality stuff, and like I still have it, and you know, it's done a lot for my store. So like then that was the next transition, and then CPR approached me. So I opened in 2017, like late 2017. Let's just call it 2018, because jumping 2017, January 2017, they approached me at Verizon after relocating the store, and they said, "Hey, you know, there's a little bit of a political move here." They said, "Hey, like, what about going to New Jersey?" And I just moved down to Maryland full time. I was living there back and forth, driving an hour, no, 2 hours, sorry, 2 hours from Maryland to Pennsylvania while living in two places for about a year and a half till I moved there permanently, only for a month later for them to tell me, "Hey, we want you to move to New Jersey." And then New Jersey sucks. So if anyone is from New Jersey, you know it sucks.
Maryland sucks. I lived in Aberdeen Proving Grounds, and man, that was
yeah.
For me, it was horrible. It was 2008. I was in the military. I hated that place.
Oh yeah. So that would have been, for me, it would have been like 2015, or 2017. It's just not where I want to be at. You know, I couldn't even imagine being in a pandemic, like doing in Philadelphia / Cherry Hill is where I was going to be at. Which, you know, appealed to me, but I'm not a city guy. Like I don't want to live in the city. So I like where I'm at. Then I eventually left Verizon, bought 2 properties with all the money I had. Had no money, but this was cash flow properties, but it was in the hood of Reading. And I was like, I don't want to open up a cell phone repair shop in the hood and then have a language barrier, and then people like don't understand like pricing. So I just took a complete shot and found that location that I'm in now. Then 2018, I really opened. 2019, I converted to CPR. So like I had a year of really not knowing what I was doing. I really didn't. And going to CPR, I didn't really know either. Like it took time for me to like develop it.
Shot in the dark for some people.
No, totally. So like I don't come from like really like repair background, but it has changed me. It's made me more punctual. I'm very articulate. You know, I'm very black and white with customers. You know, sometimes I'll tell customers straight up, "Hey, like if the result is like a BER situation, I'll tell them, hey, this is kind of, it might not be economic." Some of them are upset about it. Some of them understand, like, hey, like, I broke it. It's bad, you know?
Yeah.
Some don't like the pricing. And I'll just tell them it's really relative to like what we need to do to fix it. And that really helped me communicate. Like it helped me, be very transparent, black and white, like sometimes people are upset. I'm just like, hey, like, look, you have a right to be upset, but you don't. But I'll be very transparent about it. Like, hey, if you don't have a right, you're not going to talk to us like that. We're going to educate you though, so you can understand. And then after they understand, they earn a lot of respect for you. So I think that's a really big part of like the diagging. Delmar's like one of my main guys. And, I'm at a point now where I want to give some ownership out or, make a managing partner. So that's like our vision now. So like the first year was like, didn't know what the heck we're doing. Then in 2019, June 2019, we converted to CPR. Still didn't really know what we're doing. We won conversion of the year the first year. Second year was 2020, and that's when PlayStations happened.
Yeah.
And like just changed our lives. I got at the time those switches, and switches were the really expensive item that you want to flip for more.
It's
And
looking, your path, man, is looking like, because from what I can see on social media, it looks like you're building the team, the structure for CPR. You're making a name for CPR that here in California is a stark difference to what we have here in California for CPR and you break, I fix. I see your store and I'm like, what the are these other guys doing? There's no way. These guys are ready to shut down, negative reviews constantly, business owners in the groups just, I hate this place, I hate this, that, and the other. I can't deal with these customers, these employees. You're a poster boy for getting it done.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. That's kind words. I would say that, I'm originally an indie, and whether it's indie or franchisee, I think that for me, going into the franchise model, I honestly thought I was going to get structure. I was like, hey, if I get structure, and that's no shade to that, but that's just not their business model. I think a lot of their business models really reliant at the time when I converted was owned by a different ownership group. So to be very clear, different ownership group. A lot of reasons why I would understand why a lot of owners would be upset. I mean, there's terrible experience. In this line of work too, to be like a big franchise, I'm sure things do take time to materialize, and maybe people are not patient enough. Maybe people just can't make things happen. Maybe the timing of the industry at the time doesn't allow for certain things. And so like the first year I was just kind of like, just didn't know what I was doing. Like honestly wasn't, and this might get me in trouble, but I didn't know I wasn't using the POS system properly because I didn't know what the heck to do. I genuinely didn't feel like I had support there. And so kind of like that was a little frustrating, but there's definitely people that are very, very successful in CPR, and their success has opened up my eyes to see like, wow, like certain businesses can perform a certain way. And no clue. Like at the time they expected you to gross X amount of revenue. And like we grossed it, but I mean, like, was it good? Like in retrospect, no. I would hate to have those type of numbers. I honestly would hate to have those type of numbers. And then we grew. We didn't really know what we were doing. We just knew we were busy. I had a great team. They said, hey, like you're not writing out anything in the system. Like it doesn't look like you guys are performing. And it's true. Like for the first like couple months, like 4 to 6 months, like I didn't know what the heck we were doing. So we did it. We ranked all the sales out the way we're supposed to. We learned the POS system. And we fell within the top 25 of the nation. So when we did that, at the time, like we didn't really understand. Like there's about 500 some stores at the time, and we're like top 25 out of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, which is a little small town, a little small county.
That's got to be a confidence boost to like move you forward.
Mm-hmm. But then by seeing that also made me, remind me of Verizon and performance and looking at numbers. And, that is a very big benefit because now you're competing against other stores. Now there's just things that you don't control, you don't control the market. And so ultimately they're going to get the same amount, not the same amount, but they're going to get door swings. They're going to have our problems because you're going to be staffing, then maybe break-ins, maybe not having enough inventory, not enough employees, not enough hands. Like everyone has problems, You just try to minimize those problems, try to build a good enough team so that you don't have to have turnover. And then you also got to take care of the staff. So like we only work 10 to 6, which I'd like to be open till 8, and I'd like to be open Sundays again.
See, I'm right there with you. We only do 10 to 7 and we close Sundays. I used to work 7 days a week before I had a family. and it's a toll. And
Yeah.
I'm telling you, 10 to 6, 10 to 8. It's one of those things. 2 hours may not seem like a lot on the front end, but trying to staff that and balance the shifts along with what you know you're going to have to fill when people call out, that's the hard part.
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Just being relying on people, it does suck. And like I mentioned earlier, Delmar, he's been he's my right hand man for some time now, and he's got the skill set. He's my solder guy, and I'm the sales guy. I'm the ops. I'm not so great at ops, so I could be better at that. And so now, like, we're learning that. So the first year didn't know what the heck to do, and second year converted. The next year turned into 2020, the switches, and the switches. I don't buy it. I don't know how to buy it. I know I understand it. I just don't do it.
It's
Let's
just
buy it from
exploded.
people.
Yeah.
Like I wish I had that time to do that, but it's all relative to, like, no, I don't have the time, and I put a lot of money in people's pockets, like, where they're able to make a couple dollars. They're reselling the product. We're doing repeat business. They feel safe about it. So I've done a lot of transactions, and it's all more about, like I don't buy this inventory if I don't sell it. But it's kind of scary sometimes. You buy inventory, like now I got robbed, and
Yeah.
like I need to have that much inventory, but I had it, and you can't sell it if you don't have it. People will pay more if they're instantly gratified. Truthfully,
Yeah.
wait, and, people will wait, but nothing like taking it home. So that's a double-edged sword of business, because there are guys that are just repair shops, and then they're trying to do the retail, and the retail is so difficult because it is very capital intensive, and you also have to have the ability to sell the devices, have to educate the customers, have to build the trust so that they're willing to go from their 6S or 8.
The education is the biggest part on our end, is training people to give that information up front. That makes the sale usually.
Yeah.
What would you tell people, seeing this, your customer base, wherever it gets to, what would be your recommendation to deal with what you've had to deal with and continue to grow?
I mean, there's just so many layers to that answer, as far as like what I want to do is I want to just I would like to open more stores within my market, and then, but I need to build a better system and find some guys that want to be involved in it. Have guys in the wireless side that I don't know. I can do a lot. It's just to do it. It's just like everyone, I struggled. Pen to paper. Got this problem to solve, that problem to solve. But I do have a passion for it. I like that. There's an audience that wants this stuff. Trust me, I would rather not have to spend the money to have this type of inventory I have. But then, hey, like, people are very ecstatic to be able to buy this stuff. And then you'll hear about, a lot of the way we sell, we're listening to our customer, like, hey, like, customers paying X amount of dollars at Rent-A-Center or Magic. Like, that's crazy you're paying that. I can finance it for this price. I can, we're very, very articulate with financing because we're customers. So we talk the numbers very clear. They have 101 days to pay it off. And there's a live chat, but we were like, hey, look, like we get, people are busy, like, set an alarm, a calendar reminder, but we make no extra off of it. We don't get any commission. So just make sure you're on top of it, because I like if it goes bad, it's a lose-lose for both of us.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just have to give it raw, and they like that. Like, okay, great. Now I know. Like, he told me. He made sure I knew, because I don't want them to pay more. You know what I mean? And then at the same time, then they come back and they buy more from me later. And that's because they like the opportunity to use the financing. So some people, they frown upon financing. There's different layers of people that pay financing, like, pay ridiculous pricing for financing. And, that's not the type of business that I'm trying to build. So I kind of keep my pricing very fair, and we make it back up in volume, accessory sales. They say accessories are supposed to pay your rent. So if you can run a good enough business, accessories will pay your rent easy. You just got to be able to push it.
Yeah. Well, shoot, I appreciate having you on, man. It's been great. We'll catch up in a few months and see how everything's going according to plan. Well, I appreciate it, and we'll catch you all later. Like and subscribe.
Life can be super happy, life can be super sad. I'm trying super hard to separate the good and bad. I go back to my future just to get to my past, but knowing me, my DeLorean will probably crash.